Good evening, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. Thank you so much for joining us today for another episode of Transformations Talk. It is so exciting to have all of you here today. My name is Dr. Eugenia Caternor, and I'll be your host for today's episode of Transformation Talks. And I am so glad to announce our wonderful speaker for today. She's here to talk to us about immigration law. And just want to know, a little bit about what it is to understand the law of this country when it comes to immigration issues. So we are going to have a nice conversation today. And as we all know, Transformation Talks is a platform to educate, to empower, to inspire, to uplift and promote change within our communities. And we share ideas, we share our knowledge, our experiences, and insights on different topics pertaining to life. We talk about different things each time we meet. It's not geared to any specific topic. We just discuss things as the needs arise. You can get involved by reaching out to us directly through our website, www.dreugeniacaternor.net. You can also join our email list, dreugeniacaternor@gmail.com. You can reach us at 443-623-6080 on regular phone or on WhatsApp. You can text, you can call. We're here to work with you. We're here for you. So don't feel afraid to reach out to us if you have any questions or if you have a topic that you would like us to talk about, or if you want to be a guest speaker. We would love to have you because we are always looking for people that are knowledgeable in different areas to talk to us. Again, it's so nice to have all of you here today, and I'm looking forward to gaining more knowledge from our lady, Ms. Barbara Smith. And I know she's a little nervous, but she's going to be great. We had the other lady, Miss Davida, talk to us about civil law, family law, and that was very, very powerful. So I know we are all looking forward to hearing more about the immigration stuff. We know a lot is going on when we talk about immigration, and I mean, the laws are changes every day. So please, if she cannot answer your question for you, don't take it personal. She also have a practice. So if you need to spend more time to talk to her, please, you can reach out to her. She will send her information to us so we can share with everybody. But in the meantime, just listen to her. If you have any questions, please hold your question till the end, and then you ask, and she'll be more than happy to help us. Okay. And with not much ado, I would like to introduce our speaker for today, Mrs. Barbara Smith. Hi, Miss Barbara.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you so much for having me here. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with people about this subject because it is a big topic right now. So thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us. Because I mean, I know I'm busy and we are all busy. So for you to do this for us, I mean, it is a blessing, and we can't thank you enough. So, Miss Barbara, you can tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into the profession that you're in.
Okay. All right. Well, I am an attorney. I'm licensed in the state of New York. I have been practicing law since 1994. Yeah, I'm old. And immigration exclusively since 2001. Um, the way I got interested in you know immigration was really one, I'm an immigrant, and I came here from Jamaica when I was a little girl, and my parents did all the paperwork. I came with a green card. We came so-called legally, but I do have a strong connection to the immigration or immigrant community, and especially being raised in New York, you definitely deal with a lot of immigrants. So that was, a big part of it for me. But what really sparked me into practicing immigration exclusively was I moved to Miami in I want to say 2001, and I spent about four years there where I did nothing but immigration. I fell in love with the practice because there's something about immigrants that one, it they speak to me, and two, it's I love the fact that most immigrants are people of faith. It takes a lot of faith to come to this country. And a lot of times people don't have a lot, and they come with a dream and a hope and a belief in God. And, there's something about that that just resonated with me, and I love working with them. And so that got me really interested in immigration, and I started doing it exclusively since 2001. And then when I moved to Maryland, I continued and eventually got in my own practice, and I've been on my own now since 2011. I've built a decent, office, and like I said, I continue to love it.
That's very good. That's
Yeah,
very good. I mean, you have to do what you're passionate about.
definitely, and I'm passionate about this.
Yeah. And then the impacts, I think, whatever we do is the impacts that gives us the satisfaction.
Correct.
So, what are some of the success stories of your, you know, let's say clients that you had that you think this is beyond me, but I got it?
You know what's interesting is you do remember the success stories, but the truth is you remember the not so great stories more. It's like when you get the success, I think it's something wrong with immigration attorneys where the ones that don't turn out well are the ones that stick with us forever. Because we hate that, you know? But there's been quite a few stories that I can say were successful that um well, you know what? I'm going to tell you one that really you would never believe why it mattered to me. But when I was in Miami, I worked for a nonprofit. So we didn't charge clients. It was basically paid for by the government and private donors. And so I had a woman, and it catered to Haitian and Cuban clients because it's Miami. And I remember this one particular lady. She came in and she had this asylum story. She put in an asylum application, and the asylum application was one where this one stands out to me for some reason. It stands out to me probably the most of a lot of people. But her asylum story was basically she lived with a man. She wasn't married to him, but she lived with him. And during the time that she lived with him, he was politically involved. And they came to the house looking for him, and he fled. 7 years, she never saw him. He came back again after 7 years. And then they looked for him again. And this time she fled with him. They both left. That was her full asylum story. And of course, I'm thinking, okay, lady, we're going to have to come up with plan B. That's not a strong asylum. You're not married to him. He wasn't some big shot in the opposition party. There was, nothing happened to you. And she says, no, I have faith in God. I've been praying, and I believe that I'm going to get through. And I said, and on top of it, you got one of the worst judges in Miami. This judge, he doesn't approve anybody. And I'm preparing her for the worst. And I never forget, the judge says, okay, I'm granting your asylum. My jaw dropped. Now, it's bad when your own lawyer is like, like, what? But the reason why that stands out to me is because she really had faith in God.
Okay.
And, he came through. And I said, I told her, I said, look, I've been a Christian my whole life, but you taught me something about faith today. And that was one of the things why she stands out to me, because she really did put it in God's hands. And when I tell you it was an impossible situation, because she had a horrible judge. I mean, this judge was known for denying people. I had people before that had so much evidence, so many, and he denied. What it was, why he approved this woman's case, is still beyond me, but he was just, granted. And
Wow.
so, but it was her strong faith in God that really, stands out to me. But there's other stories where people, were in really bad situations, really bad marriages. Immigration accused them. Like I know one gentleman, immigration accused him of being in a fake marriage. It was not a fake marriage, but the ex-wife, American ex-wife, when they went to her, they said to her, well, why is it that you've been divorced for 5 months and he has another woman who's 5 months pregnant? And
Oh,
she got really upset. And she said, oh, yeah, he paid me. Oh, yeah, he paid me. We were never together. We were never, in this marriage. And he's now in a current marriage with a child and with, growing family. And he could not get a green card because if you are found to ever be in a fraudulent marriage, you can never get a green card under any circumstances, no matter who files for you. And so we had to overcome that. It took years and it took many tries. And then, the woman eventually recanted and said, no, I lied, but it took a lot. And finally, he was able to get his green card. He's a citizen now.
thank God.
Yeah, thank God. I mean, she made him jump hoops before she recanted, but it
Wow.
worked out. Yeah,
I can imagine,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I don't know how you do it because I mean, I know the goal is to help them to get their, legalization here. And if you feel like somebody have paid you to make miracle happen and that miracle doesn't happen.
But he didn't pay her. I mean, it was a legitimate marriage. It really was legitimate. It just didn't work out. And she actually cheated on him because he was working so much. But when the officers came and told her there was another woman, she became jealous and she got angry.
Oh.
And she said, oh, yeah, he paid me. You know? Yeah.
Well, I'm glad it worked out finally because
Yes. Thank God for that. Yes,
yeah. So I mean, I'm sure you love what you do, and
I do.
I'm sure there's a lot of stress involved.
There is, especially right now.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, because you have to go to court, you have to go to trial, you have to, you have to know every client.
And that's the thing, a lot of times when um, you take these cases, you get to hear people's life stories and you can't help but care
Mm-hmm.
and you want to see the best for them.
Yeah.
And you're right. Sometimes you really do have to know their history and you have to know what's going on. And I'll tell you this really quickly, but I had a client one time that she was in an abusive marriage and we filed an abuse petition and she was also in removal proceedings. And when we went before the judge, she needed a waiver because there was a criminal charge, and the judge asked her, you know, the judge said to me, "Well, I don't see why she can't go back to Honduras." And I remembered her story,
Hmm.
and I remembered how she talked about how abusive her mom was, and that was why she left Honduras because her mom was very abusive. And so I knew to ask those questions because I knew her story.
Mm.
If I didn't know her story, I wouldn't have asked because most people would say, "Oh, I had a great relationship with my mom. It was wonderful." But the fact that I knew her story, and the judge, like threw that in there, I now was able to ask her in real time, like, "So what was your relationship like with your family and what happened?" And she was able to explain the abuse that she had gone through as a child with her mother. But it really took me knowing her story to
Yeah.
be able to, talk about that.
Yeah. No, you have to have the heart for it.
Yeah.
You have to. I mean, it sounds easy, but
No.
the little I know about people coming to me asking basic questions, I know it's not easy. I know it's not easy, but
And and I'm going to say one of the biggest problems I have, especially with African clients, I don't see it with other clients as much, but I definitely see it with African clients. And that is most of my African clients, whether they're Ghanaian or I won't even say all African clients. I'll say Ghanaians and
mm,
Nigerians, especially Nigerians. What the problem that I see is that because most of them, when they come here, they're very educated.
mm,
They read well, they did well in school, they're very, very educated. So what happens is that they think that they can do it themselves. And they only go to an attorney when they run into problems. And by then the problems are so deep, it's hard to get them out of it. You know? And I would say to anyone, at least go to a really competent attorney first and get a full consultation, even if you're going to do it yourself, because it's much more than knowing that your name belongs on this line, your address belongs on this line on the application. There are a lot of things that immigration is looking for that they don't tell you on, like in the instructions. And so you think it's simple until you show up for the interview. And then when you show up for the interview, you find out, oh, they're accusing me of this and they're accusing me of that, and you have no idea. Some people get through fine, but a lot of the times, like I see with my Latino clients that because English is not their first language, they rely very heavily on attorneys. But because like I said, because of their education level, they really think that they can do it themselves and they think it's easy. And I would say it's easy if you know what you're doing, but definitely at least get a consultation from a qualified immigration attorney. And I would say if you go to someone's website and immigration is the fourth or fifth thing they do, they're not an immigration attorney. You want someone who they have experience only dealing with immigration, or immigration is their primary practice, because there's a lot of people who've jumped on the immigration bandwagon right now because it's lucrative. And what happens is that they don't really know what they're doing. They don't have the experience to know the pitfalls. So a lot of times, like clients will come to me and they said, but I did have an attorney. And I'm like, this person is a personal injury attorney. Immigration is very, very specific, and it's very fact sensitive. Like one change in a fact will change the whole outcome of the case. I have a client who she came here and she came with a visa, but she married someone who only had a green card, but she had been out of status for many years. And we put in just the marriage petition. And I said, you're going to have to wait until he becomes a citizen. And now, he became a citizen, and now we're waiting for the green card. And she called me the other day and she said, "Oh, I have a friend. She was the same situation. Her husband, only had a green card, and she was able to get her green card off of him while here in the United States." And I said, "Yeah, but was she still in her I-94 window? When she came in, was she still in status? When she married him and put in the papers, if she was still in status, then yes, she can get it here. But you are out of status. So your husband has to be a citizen if you're out of status." And she was like, "Oh, I thought it was the same thing." I'm like, no, that one fact changes everything,
Wow.
you know? And so that's the thing. And that's why it's really hard when people just stick with what the community tells them and they think, "Oh, I'll do it too." And then they run into a problem, you know?
It's not one size fit all.
No, definitely not. It's like your taxes. Everything, we might have the same income, but you may have one more child than I have, or you may have, you know, um, a boat. You know what I'm saying? That one change changes everything with your taxes. It's
Yeah.
the same thing with immigration. One fact will change everything.
Wow. Wow. Do you deal a lot with the students, the people that come here with the student visa?
Only when they're trying to change their status. So the things that I do, it's mostly I do family petitions. I do what we call consular processing for people who are filing for their relatives abroad. And I also do removal or deportation cases. So people who are being, they've been served a notice to appear to go to immigration court. I represent them. And the things I don't do heavily are employment visas. So let's say someone, wants an H-1B. You know, they're working for a company, they came as a student, and now, they have a PhD or something, and the company wants to hire them, and they're looking for an attorney. I have other attorneys I refer them to for that, but I don't deal with those. I mostly deal with people who are in removal proceedings, or people who are filing petitions or asylum applications, things like that.
Okay. All right. That's good. Yeah. Well, we'll let you share whatever you want to share with us, and then we'll give some time for questions.
Okay.
A lot of people have questions, so we'll let you
All
share
right.
the information you have with us first.
Okay, I just want to talk about a couple of things that have changed in this last year, because I'm sure everybody's been watching the news. You've been seeing what's been going on. this new administration has been doing what I like to call the most. So it's a very frightening time for immigrants. I would say to people who entered without inspection, those are people who came across the border without papers. It's extremely frightening for them because um, ICE has new rules in which they are mandated to pick up certain people. And I've had people who are in some sort of immigration process who also got picked up. So it's not enough to just be here and not have any means of getting a green card or to have a deportation order. They just seem to be going after anyone who's on the list who's illegal. And so one of the things that's also a new rule is if you came across the border without inspection, and this doesn't usually go for people from the Caribbean or people from Africa, even though I've had quite a few people recently from Guinea and, other places who have come illegally. When I say illegally, they've crossed the border without a visa. But anyone who's crossed the border without a visa right now, if ICE picks you up and you're placed in removal proceedings, it's considered mandatory detention. And I'm talking about as of today. Everything changes with immigration. What I'm telling you today could change in 3 months. It could change in 6 months. But as of today, it is considered mandatory detention. They've taken away powers from the immigration judges to decide bond. And now it's ICE that determines bond. So basically, it's like your police officer deciding whether or not you could be let out. And a police officer's job is just to lock you up. He doesn't really, he doesn't really have the tools to decide who should be let out and who shouldn't. And most of them don't want to let anybody out. So just think of it like that. So that's one of the biggest changes right now is that if you came that way and ICE gets a hold of you, it's almost impossible to get you out until your proceedings are over. And a lot of times they're fast tracked out. I'm not sure what state everyone is in. I mean, but here in Maryland, Maryland closed a lot of the detention facilities, the immigration detention facilities during COVID, from what I was told. And so we don't have the facilities to hold people. So what happens is that ICE is keeping them here in Maryland for like a day or two and then sending them to Ohio, to Texas, to Louisiana. A lot of them from here are going to Louisiana, and those tend to be very Republican places, and they are, let's just say they're not nice about, like letting people out or giving them a fair chance. So if you have an asylum case pending in that jurisdiction, because they're going to move your case to that jurisdiction. What happens is that the judges are kind of like, no, mm-mm. And now you're not out to help your own case because you're locked up. So that's one of the things that's changed this year. The other thing that they're heavily enforcing, excuse me, right now is the CB1 program. The CB1 program is a program they have, and it started with Biden, where if you come across the southern border or you come, what they consider illegally across the border, you have to register through this app called CB1. And then through the app, they allow you to come into the country. If you have not registered through CB1, even if you filed your asylum application within the 1 year deadline, you still may not be eligible for asylum because you didn't register with that CB1 program. There are some exceptions to that. Like if you come here to reunite with family members who also came because of whatever you were suffering in your country, then that could be an excuse. If you suffered something at the border, let's say, a lot of people in Mexico, there's crime, there's other things, and because of what they suffered, but it has to be a certain proximity to the border. It can't be like, you were in, you know, what's a vacation spot? Cabo, something in Mexico, and you got robbed, and then now you come to Brownsville, and you're like, oh yeah, I was robbed over there. It has to be something close to the border. But those are some examples of how you can get around that, but they're very specific, and it's a very specific, set of examples of how you can get past that. It doesn't mean that you won't be able to stay in the country if you have a good asylum case. It just means you would get something called withholding or maybe, Convention Against Torture Act, which would allow you to stay here for, indefinitely. And every year you could apply for a work permit, but it doesn't lead to a green card like an asylum would. So that's one of the changes. And I hope I'm not losing anyone in the weeds. Let me know if you need clarification on something or. And then two other things I'm going to mention really quickly that's new. The new $100 asylum fee. A lot of people have been getting notifications that they have to pay $100 now. There is a new fee. Asylum applications used to be free. There weren't any charges. But, thanks to Donald Trump, there's now a fee, and it's $100. So if you're filing the asylum application for the first time, you need to file the fee. But if you have already filed the application and it's been more than 1 year, you'll get a bill in the mail saying you need to pay this within 30 days. And that's something new. And then last but not least, there is a new $1,000. Some people last Saturday got an email stating that they owe $1,000 for their advance parole. And that is a little misleading. It doesn't apply to everyone. It's only certain situations. And from what I've read, it doesn't apply to advance parole based on adjustment of status. So if you put in a green card application and you also put in for advance parole, then you don't have to pay that fee. But immigration will send bills to people who they do have to really pay it. So with that being said, those are the updates. Does anyone have any question about anything I've said, anything that's going on with their case, or anything they want to know about somebody else? Please let me know.
Can you clarify what you said about the ICE setting your bond? What changed? I mean, a little bit. I think maybe I lost you a little bit.
Well, what's changed is it used to be that if you were in removal proceedings, right, which means you're before an immigration judge, you got served a notice to appear on NTA, and you were in court proceedings, the judge could determine bond. They've taken that power away from the judges now, and the judge no longer has power to determine if you get bond or not. ICE has to now determine that. And from what I've seen, they're not giving bond. Okay?
Was this an executive order or a law that was changed?
I believe it was a new law that the Supreme Court signed off on and said it's fine, But yeah, it's definitely a big change. We've had ICE has a mandate. Well, let me just say this first. There's ICE, okay? Immigration Customs Enforcement. But they have a new unit now that Trump put together. And this new unit is called Homeland Security Investigations, HSI. And they are a lot of ex-military. And a lot of times when you see people on, YouTube and whatever, picking people up, it's HSI. And they told me, because they picked up one of my clients one time, and I confronted, and they said, we have a mandate to deport 3,000 people per day. And their job is just to scoop people up and check it off of the list. And they said they have a list of everybody who's not lawfully in the country. So they said that they don't care whether the person has an approved I-130. They don't care if the person is waiting for their I-40. They don't care. If you're here illegally, they can pick you up. So far, I've only seen that enforcement on people who entered the border illegally. So if you came with a visitor's visa, I haven't seen a problem with people who came with a visa and overstayed. Okay? I haven't seen any problems with anybody. Even if you came with a visa that was not in your name, and you need a waiver because of that, I haven't seen them do enforcement on people like that. It's been mostly people, which tends to be a lot of the Latino community. I've seen where those people, they have a list of names of people who are here. I mean, some of them have temporary protected status. Some of them, I have one gentleman that was picked up. His wife filed the I-130 petition for him and it was approved. He filed the 601A waiver for being here unlawfully and it was approved. And the only thing was he had a court a court case that was still ongoing, and we were waiting for the judge to terminate the court case so that he can go and schedule his appointment, get his appointment at the embassy in his country. They picked him up and they said, we don't care. We don't care, you know? So even though he was at the end, now I was successful in getting him out because I actually spoke to ICE because, Homeland Security Investigations picked him up. And I went to the detention, I went to the ICE office where they had him because I knew after 3 days he'd be gone and it'll be out of my hands. And I spoke to someone because, they see you all the time, they know you. And I spoke to someone and I said, hey, actually it was a supervisor. And I said, hey, here, I had my client's records with me. I was like, look, the I-130 is approved. This is here, that's there. And he was like, okay, go on back to your office and I'm going to see what I can do. And within 15 minutes, he called me and said, your client's been released. But that is rare. And it was only because I was there. And I'm not saying me personally, I'm saying because, an attorney showed up and was there and could show them this. But I showed the same things to the HSI officer and he was like, I don't care. I don't care. He's on my list. He's got to go, So I'm saying that to say that that is definitely different because in the past, we've seen some of these enforcement efforts with the Bush administration, the same kind of enforcement efforts. Someone would show up for a marriage interview, and because they had a previous deportation order, they would pick them up and, like detain them. But we could get bond, and you get bond very quickly, and, they'd be let out, and it was just a procedure. But this time, when you get picked up, they're not letting you go. So it becomes a lot scarier right now. But I'm not sure if I answered your question. Did I answer it, or was there something else? Because tell me if I need to clarify, I will.
I think part of it is clear about what the mandate is now. So I wanted to know whether it was an executive order or one if it's a law. So if it's a law, then that is what we're dealing with. However, who gets on this list? What are the type of individuals that they are picking up like this? I think you said people who maybe have an I-94 and they have
No,
overstayed are not on this list. So
no. The people,
who tends to be on this list?
in my experience, because I can't speak for the whole country, but I can say in my experience, the people who they're picking up are not the ones that came with an I-94. The people who came with the I-94 are safe. And that's why I'm not seeing a lot of African clients picked up because most came with an I-94. Most got an I-94 when they entered because they came with a visa, even if the visa was not in their name. We know what we're talking about here. So, those people are not being picked up. The ones who are being picked up tend to be the people from Mexico, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, who just crossed the border years ago. They
Do they
just
have
crossed
to have a criminal record to be on that list?
No,
Okay.
not at all. Not at all. I mean, one of the young ladies in my office who works for me, she's a citizen. She was born here, but her parents are not. Her mother just got a letter, and her mother has TPS. Her mother just got a letter saying to show up. So it's one of those situations where it's really targeting the Hispanic community right now, heavily with that enforcement. But the kinds of things I've been seeing with my African clients who I've seen where ICE is showing up at their home a lot. There's been a lot of home visits to see, are you really in a legitimate marriage? Are you really, they're going the extra mile. But in terms of just picking them up off the street, I haven't seen that with my African clients, or any other clients actually. But I've seen it with a lot of the Latino community. Yeah, but it all depends on how you entered. Okay. So if someone came with a visa and they have an I-94, even if it's expired and they're overstays on the visa, right now, as of today, I can say that they're safe. They're fine. I don't see any enforcement on them. Okay. I can't tell
Thank
you what's going to happen next week, but right now they're fine.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Anyone have any other questions?
Hi, please, I have
Hi.
a question. So what is the status on someone who enters with a visitor's visa and wants to get married? Finds,
Okay.
okay, so find someone in North Carolina and wants to get married. What does the person have to do?
Okay. So this person lives in North Carolina?
Yes, please.
Okay. So how long have they been in the country? How long has the visa expired? You know, or I should say the I-94 expired.
Okay, so the visa is still valid.
How long have
The
they been in the
person
country?
the person has been in the country for 2 months.
Okay. So, and I'm assuming if they're African, they got 6 months, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, this is a tricky situation. Let me tell you why. If the person marries too soon, they could accuse her of visa fraud. But
Okay.
she doesn't want to get married too late after. So what I would say is, it's okay for her to marry. I wouldn't marry earlier than 90 days.
Okay.
From entering. So my thing would be, I would wait until maybe the end of the fourth or the beginning of the fifth month,
Okay.
because you don't want it to look like as soon as you came to the country, you got married, because immigration is going to be like, well, did you come for a visit or did you come to marry this person? Because if you say you came to marry this person, your visa is null and void. And then they
Okay.
treat you like somebody who came across the border illegally. So what happens is, because your visa is to visit, just like if you come here on a visitor's visa and you get a job, immigration will then nullify your visa and say it's as if you came across the Mexican border. They'll treat you like that. And then you cannot adjust your status within the United States.
Okay.
You would need waivers, you would need, because of the fact that, your intention does not look like it was here to visit. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So in this case, I would say for this particular person, I would say that the best thing, it's okay for her to marry. It's okay for her to even marry. If the person's a citizen, it's okay for her to even marry as an overstay. I'm assuming the person she wants to marry is a citizen. But
Yes.
what I would say is, hey, Richmond, he shows up on my podcast. But anyway, so I know him, that's why. So what I would say is, it's okay if she wants to be an overstay and she marries anyway. She can still adjust her status because she came lawfully. However, what I would suggest is for her to wait as much as possible before marrying this person. And the other thing I would say is to make sure that she plans to move to North Carolina. She needs to live under the same roof with this person. Immigration doesn't want to hear about long distance marriage. Okay?
Okay.
She cannot
Okay.
stay
So
in another state and then be married to him. They don't want to hear it.
okay. So can they marry and decide, and the person decide not to adjust the status and go back and maybe come back later
Okay.
in the
So,
future to come and adjust status?
okay. So I personally feel like it's better for the person to stay and adjust here. However, she can go back home. She can. Um, the problem is she has to stay home until the time of the visa until she comes back for an interview and she comes back with the green card. What I'm saying is, once the citizen files the I-130 for her visa is considered null and void, because if she tries to enter on a visitor's visa, they're going to say you're married to a citizen who's filed for you. And they know that once she's here, she can adjust her status here. They will turn
No.
her away. 9 times out of 10, they will turn her away at the board, at the airport, because they'll say, no, you're not coming for a visit. You're coming to stay. And so
Okay,
what
so
happens is then she's going to have a waiver that's needed, like a 5-year time before she can actually come. So basically, she has to stay out. If she's going to leave, she's got to stay out till it's all done.
okay, so the question was, you
Mm-hmm,
get married, you don't
mm-hmm,
adjust your status at all, you leave it as it is, then you
mm-hmm.
go back home,
Right?
then you come back later with a visitor's visa, and then maybe in about 3-4 months, so let's say you stay in for 4 months, you get married, you have other things doing home, so you go back home, then
No.
come
Mm-mm.
back
No,
later.
you don't get that choice to come back and come back and come back. No,
Oh,
no. Because what happens is every time she runs the risk of being stopped in customs at the airport, because once they find out that she's married to a citizen, she runs that risk. I have a couple right now. The wife just got her green card, and they did that. They got married. They never filed anything with immigration. She came with a visitor's visa back and forth, because she had a really good government job back in Ghana. And so she didn't want to give up that job just yet. So what happened was that, she just kept coming back and forth, back and forth. Her visa had no mention of her marital status. The visa was good. She got the visa before she got married, and she just kept using that visa. And she came back and forth until the final time now she decided to stay, and we filed for her. But if he had put in that application before she was ready to stay, she's alerting immigration that she plans to make this her home. And that's what I'm saying will nullify the visa.
okay,
Okay? That's what I'm trying to say.
okay,
So once you put in that I-130, then she's going to have to stay out, or she's going to have to stay in and wait till she gets advanced parole. And then when she gets advanced parole, then she can come back and forth. She just needs to apply for the advanced parole.
okay, all right.
Okay? Yeah. Any other questions?
Yes.
Yes, I have a question. So I heard you say something about asylum. So
Yes.
how far back are they going? Like if you sought asylum and say you came through another country and you know now you have your documentation. How far back are they going?
Okay, so I'm going to ask for some clarification, because when you say that you have your documentation, you have a green card now, or you got an approved asylum, or you're saying that you have a work permit?
Oh, it's not me.
No, I'm saying whoever.
Oh, okay. So this person is they are a citizen now.
Okay. So they want to know if immigration is going to come back and look at them.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that
You
happen
never
yet.
know.
You never know. You never know. And I have a woman who keeps coming to my office every week because she's like, she got her citizenship in the 90s, and she thinks they're going to come after her for some fraud because she didn't dot an I and cross a T. So so people are nervous, but I don't think she has to worry. Has she had her asylum more than, I mean, I'm sorry, her citizenship more than 5 years?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think she has to worry. She's fine.
Okay.
Okay.
All
Yeah.
right.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
My question goes like this. Um, for someone who came into America with a working visa, which is H-1B, and
Mm-hmm.
then the visa is still valid, but it will be expiring next year.
Is the person still working for the company?
No, it's not, she's no longer working for the company anymore.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Has she found another company similar to take over that visa?
No, I don't think so.
So she's basically out of status. How long has it been since she's no longer been with that company?
For like 6 months now.
Okay. Mm, okay. So she's running the risk now of, yeah, she's in the danger zone now, because after 6 months of she may still be able, if she can find another job, she might still be able to hold on to that H-1B, but she's going to have to find a new company to sponsor her. But she has to do it very quickly. Very,
Okay.
very quickly.
So I have
Okay.
a question in reference
Mm-hmm.
to that. Do they have to find another company similar to the previous company, or it could be any company?
No, it has to be when you come on an employment visa, you're coming because you have a certain skill in a certain field. So let's say, you have a master's degree in biology. You can't now come and be a manager at, Burger King, even if the salary is the same, even if the level is the same, even if they're both asking for master's degrees. No. It has to be a comparable company, similar with the same skills. But again, there's some basic things I know about H-1Bs or about, employment visas. That's one of the things I do know. But if anyone needs further clarification, you could definitely contact me afterwards and I could get you in touch with someone who that's all they do. They do nothing else but employment visas. They don't do deportations. They don't do marriage. They don't do anything but employment visas. And so they're the experts and I give it to them. But yeah, it does have to be a similar job, a similar circumstance, it has to be. Okay.
For follow-up, is there a window that they have before they get a new job?
There is a window, and it's usually within that 6-month mark. And that's why I say she's getting dangerously close right now. And I would suggest that she probably needs to seek an attorney very, very quickly. If nothing else, maybe even to see if she can still get an extension on her status. Because right now, once you're out of status, you can't go back and try to get that status again. Like for example, let's say you're an overstay on an H-1B. You can't now say, okay, I'm going to pick up on that H-1B now because I found another company. It's been 3 years, but I'm going to, no, you're out of status. You cannot pick up on that company. So what happens is that the only things you could really get is through marriage. There are other things you can get, but like let's say you're a crime victim and there's certain crimes that will allow you to get a green card, even though, you're not married to anybody, you don't have any papers, but certain crimes, not all crimes, but you could get a U visa. Those are things that you can get even though you're not in status. There's certain things, but they're very specific. But otherwise, it's usually through marriage. But it's like a lot of people, they came on a student visa. They haven't been to school in 3 years, and they're like, well, now I want to do my master's. Can I continue my student visa? I'm like, no, you're out of status. You know, too much time has passed.
So what
And
happened?
so, well, that person no longer has that option. What they should have done was they should have continued, with school while they were still in status or asked for an extension or have a change of status to something else. But, once it's lapsed for that long period of time, you can't. Okay.
There is a question in the chat. Can you see it or you want me to read it?
If you can read it, that'd be great because I'm not open to the chat right now.
It's like, what if you came as an F1 student, but have been here for decades, got a work permit during the school years, but could not renew, but continued working and now have their own children? Would they have
How old are the children?
probably teenagers? I think. Would they have to stop working in order for their children to file for them?
No. Having your American citizen children file for you, and I'm assuming the children were born here in the United States, then those children, it would be like having a spouse file for you in terms of, you don't have to, there's no penalty for working without authorization under those categories. So even though you worked without a work permit, there is not a penalty in that category. And I'm specifying in that category because not everybody gets that benefit. But if you're married to a citizen spouse and you overstayed and you worked without authorization, there is no penalty to you for that. And the same thing with your children. If your children are over 21 and they can file for you, there's no penalty for you having worked without authorization. So your children can file for you and no, you don't have to stop working.
What's the minimum age? 18 or 21?
21.
Okay.
What is the process for adjusting from student to, say, through an employer?
Okay, so this is what would happen. While the person is still a student and still in good status, the employer would file the employment-based visa, whatever category that is, depending on the level of the education. So the employer would file that while they were still in status. And then hopefully it's approved while they're still in status. And then they would continue on that road. If the person has been out of school for a long time and now the employer wants to file for them, it's too late because they're no longer in status. But if the person goes home, let's say you have a student visa and everything's finished, you graduated, you did your OPT, you went home, and then now somebody wants to file for you, you can come back under that employment-based visa. But if you've just been here languishing with no status, then you cannot. Once you're out of status, there are very few things you can get. You cannot now try to change once you've been out of status. And I'm talking about for a significant period of time. I'm not talking about you're out of status, like for a week, and then, like for example, I have a client who came to me because she had a student visa and the school was extremely expensive. Her father was paying it. And I think there was one semester where he didn't have the funds. Something happened with his employer. He switched employers in Nigeria and he didn't have the $20,000 to pay for that semester. Yeah, semester, 20,000. So what happened was that she was out of school for that semester and then she went to a cheaper school, but she didn't do the paperwork. She did no paperwork. And then immigration notified her because, they got wind that now you're in this new school. And immigration says, like basically you're not in status. It was a whole 6 months you were out. You went to this other school, but the school is not authorized under your F1. You have no I-20 for them. You have nothing. So we did a mad scramble to get her back in status. And I was able to do it. But the father ended up having to pay that other school because we needed that school to release her to this other school that was much cheaper. So he ended up paying for that back semester, that 20,000 for that one semester where she was out of stat. So what I'm saying is it all depends, but usually when you're out of status, it creates a lot of problems for you. She should have gone back home for that 6 months and then came back again afterwards.
Wow.
Like
Would
her
that
dad just didn't want to pay that. Huh?
would that type of adjustment lead to like if the person has F1 visa, stay in status, getting an employer to file for them, can they adjust to getting a green card on that?
Usually there's a certain period of time, but remember I told you I don't do employment visas. I can give you my surface information because there's some things, every attorney has to know. But when it comes to that, like, different categories, like for example, the H-1B, I think the H-1B used to be 6 years. So you had to be with the company for like 6 years or something like that. So I can't tell you exactly how long they have to stay with the company. But again, you guys contact me afterwards and I can give you someone who's an expert in that area.
Ms. Barbara, do you have your contact information that we can put out?
I do. How would you like for me to, I think I sent you a copy of my business card. I
Yeah.
didn't, I didn't bring anything to put up, but what I can do is I can put it in the chat. And this way, anybody who wants to contact me can contact me. My office relocated to Columbia, Maryland. I used to be in Baltimore. So if you look up my name and it says business closed, it's only because we've moved to Columbia. Keep checking. The new address is there. We're not
How much
closed.
do you charge for consultation? I know immigration lawyers do charge for.
Yeah, we charge $200 for the consultation fee. And the truth is, I felt like I had to start charging because what happens is a lot of immigration clients who come in, they are just trying to do like second opinions. They have lawyers or they've already done the work. And if you say free consultation, they'll just come and sit here and talk to you all day just because they want to know, one, did they do it right? Or two, did their lawyer do it right? And so you kind of want to make sure people are not wasting time. So that's why there is a consultation fee.
Do
Okay.
you apply that consultation if they sign on?
No, not anymore. No. We used to, but again, we stopped that. So
I was
no, it's
going to
not
give
part
you a
of the
bunch of
case.
clients.
Huh?
I was going to give you a bunch of clients.
You could still do that.
For $200, think about what you spend at the grocery store. You know,
I have a
Exactly.
I'd like to ask a question, please, if I may.
Sure.
So if a person who already has a green card gets charged with a crime, can they lose their green card?
Yes, it depends on the crime. What was, if you don't mind telling me, what was the crime?
Sexual assault.
Oh yeah. Um, it depends though. It depends on the degree of the sexual assault. It depends on how soon after they got the green card. It depends. Like how many years had they had the green card?
My client's been here for, I think, more than 10 years.
Okay, but not been here, but like the green card.
The green card, you know what, I haven't really asked him. I know that he's uh, graduated and he's working, and he works in a facility, medical facility.
Yeah. Because okay, it depends on the degree of the crime. It depends on the state that the crime was committed in, or allegedly. Has the case been resolved or it's still ongoing?
No, no, we're still working on his case.
Okay, then. So I would suggest contact me afterwards. I'm not going to charge you.
Okay.
But is it in Maryland or another state?
It's in Delaware.
In Delaware. Okay. Because you really should consult with an immigration attorney about this
Hmm.
matter, because what happens is that sometimes, like with criminal lawyers, a criminal lawyer is just trying to keep you out of jail.
Hmm. Hmm.
And sometimes the things that they plead to are really, really detrimental to them for immigration
Hmm.
purposes, but it kept them out of jail.
Hmm.
And so I would say this, that if it is a crime, as long as it's not considered an what immigration calls an aggravated felony,
Aggravated. Hmm.
yeah, then he should be able to get a waiver.
Okay.
He may be able to apply for not for permanent resident cancellation of removal, which
Hmm.
is, basically, I think if you've had the green card more than like 5 years. The last time I did one of these was at least 10 years ago, because,
Hmm.
usually my clients, thank God, we've kind of curtailed some of that. But what happens is that if they've been here a long time with the green card and they've been convicted of crimes and immigration puts them back in removal proceedings, then they can then ask for cancellation of removal, saying that basically I either have a United States citizen spouse or green card holding spouse, but a
Hmm.
spouse, a parent, or a child who would suffer an extreme and unusual hardship.
Hmm.
And the person, immigration court would kind of weigh the equities, like the crime you committed versus, like, let's say, you know, your community issues, and your family and how long you've been here, and how would they suffer if you were deported, and usually
Hmm.
the suffering has to do with like an illness. Like the last one I had, the wife used to have these crazy fainting spells. I don't know,
Hmm.
she would just pass out, and
Hmm.
she was a young woman, but she had something where her heart would just stop suddenly and she would just pass out. And the husband had a marijuana smoking issue, so he ended up in jail quite a few times. So,
Hmm.
but we were able to win that one because the
Hmm.
wife's illnesses were so severe in terms of,
Hmm.
she passed out in court.
Hmm.
So, based on that, he was able to keep his green card.
Okay.
And, so he may be able to, but again, I think under those circumstances, especially when you're talking about a sexual crime, and
Hmm.
especially, I don't know if it's a minor, but if it has to do with a minor, it comes with extreme penalties. So I would
It wasn't a
consult,
minor.
huh?
It wasn't a minor.
Oh, okay. I would definitely consult with an immigration attorney, and especially one that does criminal alien
Hmm.
cases. And again, if I can't answer your question, I will definitely put you in touch with someone who can, to give you
Okay.
better guidance on this. But before you take
Okay.
any plea agreements, please, 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 yeah, talk to someone because it does matter.
Yes.
There's different degrees of sexual assault. There's different,
Right.
so we want to make sure that he's protected.
Okay. I'll
I
contact
know,
them
I
so
know
that
I
we
shouldn't
can
be talking
contact
about
them.
protecting someone who's got a sexual assault.
I, I No, in this case, I really truly don't believe that he done it, knowing the character, the type of person that he is. I
Mhm.
think the girl, because he's from Africa, I think the girl is just trying to. They know she knows what the situation is that's going on in the country with the exportation and stuff, and he's helped her with money before, so she thinks he's got all this money, so she's trying to extort him for money, which is some of the things that I investigated and took to the attorney that's fighting his case, uh, the criminal case, in court. However, we haven't been to court yet.
I see. I see. Well, since this is going to be on YouTube, I'll reserve what I want to say for, afterwards. But I tell my clients, like, you have to weigh whether or not it's worth the fight or
Hmm.
whether it's worth the give in. And so my thing is he has everything to lose,
Right.
but I don't know how strong the case is, for him. But sometimes, it might be better just to
So
do what
he's
you
been
have to do to
charged,
get
but
the
he
case
hasn't been
dropped.
convicted. He's been charged, but he hasn't been convicted. So is there a difference between the charge as opposed to being convicted?
There's definitely a difference. I mean, if you could be charged with anything. I've had clients charged with murder, but
Hmm.
the charges were dismissed. If the charges are
Right.
dismissed, they have no bearing on you. Immigration cannot impose a penalty on you, for
Okay.
something that you hadn't done or you were not
Right.
convicted of.
Correct.
So,
Okay. That's what I
yeah,
know.
so in that case, yes, it won't have any bearing on him if in fact, he's
But I got your information,
executed.
so I'll be
Yeah,
calling you so that and I'll
yeah.
discuss it with him so that we can discuss it further with you.
Yeah, yeah, because yeah, it's too bad. It's too bad that that happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
Miss
Any other questions?
It looks like we probably have to have a second part to this.
Mm,
Um,
Yes.
I
but
had
Yeah.
something to
talk.
share quickly about
okay.
people who have green cards because I know two people that this happened to. So, one person has a green card that, usually they will go out of the country and stay for a year too
Hmm.
before returning. So, my uncle did that and was almost turned back, except for the fact that he was coming for medical treatment. And then the other one, um, her mom files for her. And so when everything went for the interview and had to come here to, I guess, pick up the green card, whatever. So she came and stayed for about 3 months and she went back home. She has little ones back home. Then she stayed there for about 6 months. She made sure that she did not go over the 6 month mark. Came back and she was almost turned back because they said it's obvious she doesn't live here. So I'm just letting people know be careful because it used to be that, we could go home and stay for uh
All of those scenarios were there before Trump because if you stay a year, it's they could charge you with abandoning your residence. You have to be in the United States more than you're out of the United States. And it's, anytime you're out of the country 6 months or more, you've broken your residence. So what that means is the time you're accumulating for citizenship has been broken.
Mm,
Because you cannot be equally here and equally there. You got a green card because you're supposed to be residing here. So they
mm,
want to see that you're here more than you're someplace else. So
mm,
she shouldn't even have stayed 6 months. She should have stayed 5 months and a week or something. But
mhm,
once she hit the 6 month mark, she broke residence, which means that her citizenship countdown doesn't start until after this last time she came back. You see what I'm saying?
mhm.
So with, I think people should keep that in mind that if you're gone for a full year, and you could, I've had clients who were gone for years and came back, but they had a good excuse, like father died, had to run the family farm, but they kept their home in America. They kept their, phone, they kept their lights, they kept every bills in their names. They kept filing taxes here. That shows that they intended to come back, but something happened. You see what I'm saying? So there are ways around that. But if you're just gone and you kept no residence here, you didn't file that, yeah, they're going to take it away. They can take it away, so
It
people
was
should
never
keep
a
it.
problem though. People did it, went back home and stayed for years and came back and
I
never
know.
was it a problem.
A lot of my
Yeah.
Trinidadian clients do that. They go for years and come back and they don't have a problem. But I can tell you this, it was always supposed to be a problem. They were just getting away with it.
Okay.
They were just getting away with it, but it was always supposed to be a problem.
Mm.
And
I
some
have
people were
a,
not getting away with it.
I have one last question. What age, if it is, to get before you can get a waiver for the civil test for natural citizenship?
Okay, it's not okay, it depends. So there's one for 55 years. If you're 55 years old and you've been here, ooh, I don't have it off the top of my head. One of them, if you've been here for 15 years with a green card,
Mhm.
and I think it's like you're 60 or something. Another one, if you've been here 20 or 25 years with a green card and you're 55 or something but they do have different ones. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head right now because honestly, I wasn't anticipating that question. But they do have those waivers and they're still in place. But I will tell you, I forgot to tell you this change. There is a change now with the naturalization test. It used to be that you had 100 questions. Trump has changed it to now it's 120 questions. And it used to be that you only had to answer 10. And if you got 6 right, you passed. Now you're going to have to answer 20 questions, and if you get 12 right, you've passed. I forgot to mention that. That's also a new change. Okay.
Wow.
That's a lot.
Huh?
That's a lot.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's doing a lot. He's doing a
And
lot.
In your podcast?
Hmm?
yes. I'm on another Zoom. Somebody was listening and asked if
Oh,
it's being podcast. Yes.
oh, okay.
Is
Yeah.
there a medical waiver to that request?
Okay. There is a medical waiver. And I have been very successful in getting my clients, with that. However, that's also another change. Trump started a new executive action that says that if the doctors who are doing these medical waivers, if they've done more than a certain amount, he's now going to investigate them. So I have a gentleman who I think he's from my country and he doesn't know how to read or write. Relatively young, but he doesn't know how to read or write. And I sent him to one of the doctors that I know well so he can get an evaluation because they do actual tests. It's not like they just write a paper. They do actual testing to see if there's some other reason why you're not able to learn to, do that. And I sent her to him and she was adamant, do not send anybody else to me. I want to keep my license. I'm no longer doing these because now people are afraid
Yeah.
of doing those waivers. So I would say whoever needs one, lay low. It's only 3 more years and 1 month, and he'll be gone. I
I,
count down. I
I like
count
that.
down.
I like that answer. I keep telling
I
people
count
that.
down.
I mean, this is
So,
real. I have to put somebody on literally anxiety medication because he has H1 visa. The wife and the family pretty much is here because of his status, and he lost his job. And the
mm,
wife has a job, but the wife can't keep him because he is on, so he's on his back. You need to go get a job,
okay.
otherwise,
Well,
we we
let me
we
ask a
going to be.
question. Let me ask a question. Is the wife's job able to give her status? Is the what, are they, first of all, if it hasn't been too long, can we now change the wife from the from the H1B2 or whatever it is to be the main person.
I
For her
think
to be the
that is somebody that I will want to give you information to so he can call you. That's why I was asking you beside the
absolutely.
consultation if you can apply
No, I
because he's
wouldn't do a
just out of job.
consultation. I wouldn't do a consultation with him. What I would do is immediately send him off to the other attorney. And I'm gonna put her information in here because she does employment only visas. Like that's all she does. And she would with me, it would be a waste of time. So I would give him this other attorney and let her give him the consultation because this is an employment visa issue. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna put her information in the chat and feel free to reach out to her and then he can pay the consultation fee to her because this is right up her alley. And like I said, this is all she does is employment visas. So when I have a question or, I have a client who has a complicated situation, I just refer them to her. Okay?
Thank you.
You're
Good.
welcome.
Okay, we'll take one more question from Marisa, and then I have to go and
I have just one more, if I may.
then if Miss Barbara is coming back in 2 weeks.
I have just
Okay.
one from. May I?
Go ahead.
This is Richmond.
Hi,
Miss Barbara,
Richmond. How are you?
I did not know that you were here. I fully missed
Well,
Doctor, and I just,
you're big time now, so it's
yeah,
fine. What can I
yeah,
do for you, Richmond?
yeah. So I just wanted to speak to what you said about some of us being too smart, right? I think I want to speak to you a little bit. The same thing happened to me. I mean, I felt like I was too much educated to get a lawyer to do anything for me. And this is not an advert for Miss Barbara, but I fell into deep troubles that took me way longer than I needed to. So, we always need to seek the advice of a lawyer, no matter how smart you think you are. Because it happened to me not just once, it happened to me twice. Because I thought I was just way too smart. And all occasions it was Miss Barbara who had to come and bail me out. So
But he's a citizen. If you don't mind me saying that, Richmond, he's a citizen. He's fine. He's good.
That's the good thing to know that at least Miss Barbara saved you. So please, if you're on this platform, if you're watching now or watching later, and you have any doubts, you have anything that is not stable, please make sure you get an attorney. So my question to Ms. Barbara is, do you see clients from every state or are you licensed in certain states?
I'm licensed in the state of New York and New Jersey, but I don't really use my New Jersey license. I practice under my New York license. The beautiful thing about immigration is because it's federal, you can practice it anywhere. So you don't need a state license. You just need one. When I say you don't need a state license, I now live in Maryland and I practice immigration law in Maryland. I don't have to get a Maryland license. I'm practicing under my New York license. When I lived in Miami, I practiced under my New York license. So you can represent clients all over the country with just one license.
Okay, very good.
Okay.
So that means you can cover Delaware too?
Absolutely.
Okay, girlfriend.
Do you do virtual or we have to come see you in person?
And
You don't mind.
I do have a lot of clients in different states, Um, so it happens. I was just with someone in North Carolina like about 3 weeks ago. So yeah, different places. I've got clients in Miami. The funny thing is I don't have any clients in New York anymore. It's like, because I have so many friends in New York who do it that I just, they take over and they do it. But so I know a lot of attorneys in New York, so but yeah. And of course Virginia, this whole area. So
That's good information. I have
Mm-hmm.
more questions for you, but it's more about bringing somebody here, let's say from Ghana, like what
ask quickly. I can answer.
what so she's a student, she just graduated from nursing school. I'm in
Mhm.
the medical field. Can I bring her here on employment visa?
Well, you're in the nursing field?
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You can give her a job offer. Contact Norma,
Slow
the
down,
attorney that I gave, and she can
slow down
help you
while you're
get
traveling.
started. I'm
Yeah,
sorry?
yeah, I can't.
Oh, it's another podcast, I think. But yeah, you could definitely sponsor her. Sure, you can give her a job offer. Um, but again, you'd have to be able to meet the, income requirements based on the Department of Labor. You have to go through all those steps. And like I said, Norma can walk you through that and tell you exactly what would be needed.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Eugenia, I gave this link to some couple people, and they're on here. And I just looked back and saw the person, I think he's shy to ask. So can you give me um, 1 minute to a second to ask her? I think this is in her alley.
I'm
So,
okay.
this is the scenario is this gentleman met somebody, and the person actually went to Ghana to go marry him and bring him here. So he got here, he got his green card, but the state they were living in, he couldn't find a suitable job. So he moved to another state to go say, hey, let me go find a job. Once I get it, then you can move over. This was agreed. 6 months later, come over. The lady doesn't want to come over. And eventually, the long story was, I don't want to move over. My old boyfriend is coming out of jail, and I'm going to marry him. I'm going to divorce you. But what he did was he then write to immigration that he's been fraud, just like the one that you mentioned initially. And he's reported it. So this individual went for his citizenship interview. The
Mhm.
first one went through, and just whilst he was just waiting to get a letter for swearing in, he gets another letter saying they want a second interview, and he's been freaking out because I mean this was
As he should. As he
yeah,
should.
the
Yeah.
person definitely actually did a TikTok when he wrote to the what they call the logbox about reporting this gentleman, which this wasn't fraudulent marriage. He went, married him, brought him here. It's just something that didn't work. So
Okay, let me ask you just a couple of little pointers. Okay, so how long has he had the green card?
almost five. He just turned 5 years now.
Okay, what I would suggest is letting the citizenship application slide. Don't just abandon it. And wait. Does he live in Maryland or where does he live?
Lives in Delaware. He's been to the
Delaware.
citizen
Okay.
interview already.
I'm not sure if Delaware is following this. I know that most of the Northeast is following this, but it's usually if you had the green card at least, I think it's 5, 6 years, they do not take, they cannot revoke it. However, if they do think that he was in a fraudulent marriage, the consequences would be that he's not going to be able to get citizenship ever. So what I would do is get his ducks in a row before he goes back in front of immigration. And so my advice would be go back over your old applications, go back over the joint bills you had together. When you got divorced, when did it say that the two of you separated? The divorce judgment, what does it say? How long had you been separated? They may want to see that because if you were separated during the time that you were waiting for the green card, then immigration would say you weren't supposed to get the green card. And then you're definitely not eligible for citizenship ever. There's so many things to consider before meeting with them again. So I would say stay a resident. Okay? Stay a resident for now. Give it another year or so. And then I would say get your file through the Freedom of Information Act so you see everything that's out there. And when it comes to this woman who's now trying to mount some case against you, I would try to get whatever, text messages and anything at all that you can find that would show what took place. So you can actually defend yourself because it will come up again. I don't care if you wait 5 more years, it'll come up again. So the whole reason why I'm advising you to like hold off on trying to continue this application is because you want to make sure that you're ready for it. and that you have some kind of defense, that this woman is trying to be spiteful. This person is definitely trying to harm you. You ended up on bad terms, and this is what happened. But you want to have bills in both names showing that the two of you actually lived together at some point, that it was actually a valid marriage. Any kind of communication that you can find that expressed that the two of you were still in this relationship, and the plan was that the two of you would reconcile because job situations, or that she sent you something saying that she's going to go back to the ex-boyfriend from jail, anything at all, I would find that and have that ready. If you want to reach out to me, and I will definitely do my best to try to help with that one. Okay. But I wouldn't just go into immigration right now and think I'm going to talk my way out of it. They're calling you in for a reason. And it's because they have things that they think you're guilty of. And you've got to be ready to prepare yourself for that, because you don't need 2 interviews. It's usually just 1 interview for citizenship, and then you get your oath ceremony. Okay.
Thank you. I think he's on here, so he heard you.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Thank
No,
you so
I
much.
think he's doing the right thing by not just jumping in and going, because a lot of times people think they can talk their way out of it. They can just explain everything, and I wouldn't do that. Okay.
All right. I know time is up, but my hand has been up, and I
Okay.
have one quick question, which will be very quick. So I
Okay.
have a client who is currently on life support, and the client, close to him being incapacitated, had indicated in his will that his niece, who happens to be the only family member he has, should be the guardian for his only daughter, who is only 13 years old. Now, the niece, who is the guardian of the daughter, is H1B visa, like it's on a student visa. So my question is, would that cause any concern if this gentleman should pass, of course, in the next few days, and we have to probate the will? Would that cause a concern for the niece who has a student visa to be able to be a guardian for the daughter?
No, it would not cause any problems. But I would advise her that after he passes, for her to maybe legally adopt the daughter, so that when the daughter is now 21, the daughter can file for her, if she's still here.
Okay.
But I would, because immigration, if she adopts her before her 16th birthday, then she would be able to, the daughter at some point would be able, when the daughter's 21, to be able to file for her. But there shouldn't be any issue. I don't see an immigration issue with her probate issues, or being the guardian or anything like that. I
Okay.
don't see that being an issue.
Okay. And when she files for, when she files for adoption, she can do that only while she's in status. And yes, currently she's in status.
No, she can do that out of status. I don't think you need to be, um, a citizen or green to adopt. But I would suggest, when it comes to the whole adoption process, you should contact David Abortmus, the one who was on last time, because that's who I send all my family law matters to. So I would contact Davida. And because I've many clients who have to adopt, I send them to her, and she would know exactly what to do. Okay. But
Thank you.
in terms of just the law regarding family court matters, we're not talking about immigration. So I would definitely contact a family law attorney who knows how to do adoptions. Okay, because she will know exactly what it is they're looking for in the family court. That's what I'm trying to say.
Got it. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Everybody on the platform today, we had over 30 people here, and I know some people are watching on YouTube. Everybody needs to give Miss Barbara $200.
No, you don't. That would be good, but no, you don't.
Yeah, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
No, you don't.
This information
But
that you're giving us, I mean, it's money that we would have paid for. So I mean,
well,
I thank you
I'm
enough.
hoping I save some people some time, some heartache. And because that's the whole point. To me, when I do these kinds of things, I think of it more as like a community service, because I feel like, people need to know.
Yes.
People need to know.
The knowledge.
Yeah.
No, no, this is great. This is great. I know Miss Marisa had a question so bad. I don't know if she's still on, if she still want to ask a question, or if her question has been answered. Do you still have a question for Miss Barbara? If you do, very quick. We have 2 more minutes. Okay, I don't see her. Oh, she probably went off. But yeah, so this is great. This is great information, and you hit it right on the nail. And I know you weren't sure how it's gonna go, but I told you, because once you're good at something, no matter what people throw at you, you have the answer for it. So you did great. I thank you so much. And together we say thank you, Ms. Barbara, for the time that you've taken out of your busy schedule to share this valuable information with us. If anyone need her information, is right here. 443-575-5765 is the phone number. And I know she says she moved her office to Columbia, Maryland, but you can reach her anytime, wherever you are across the country. You can reach her. She can definitely help you out if you have any immigration issues. And again, don't try to do it on your own. If there's one thing I've learned from this episode, is don't act like you know too much. You didn't go to school to be a lawyer or to be an immigration lawyer. So don't try to do it on your own, because you could screw things up. It could cause more harm, and it's going to cost you more money. So
And
seek help.
and I just want to say, my office hours since COVID, I've tried to have a little bit more work-life balance. And so my office hours are Monday through Thursday, 9 to 6. We're closed Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays.
Like you should.
So yeah.
Anyway,
So if you guys try to call tomorrow, you're gonna get the voicemail.
we'll wait
Okay.
for
But yeah.
yes, but we'll
So
talk to you. And once again, thank you so much for joining us today. And we appreciate every second of your time. If you have any more questions, you can always reach us on YouTube. If you haven't subscribed yet, please go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Transformation Talks, Dr. Eugenia Caternor. You can follow us on Facebook. All these recordings is going to be available in the next day or two. I will share with you. You can also go to my website, dreugeniacardinal.net, to view all the podcasts, including the one that we just have today. So please, knowledge is power. And if you don't know, you don't know. And I always say ignorance is not a reason to break the law. So please make sure you ask questions, make sure you um, talk to people that have the expertise, that have the knowledge, so you don't make mistakes down the line. But once again, Miss Barbara, we thank you so much. God bless you. And I pray that through this podcast, you're going to have more clients from us and be
amen. I received that.
amen. Yeah, we'll keep you busy,
All right. But thank you so much for having me. I really do appreciate it. And everyone's been very kind. Thank you.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
very much.
All right. So good night, everybody. We'll see you again in 2 weeks.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.